Hey everyone, so today I've got a deck profile for you, and it's going to be based around a card that we talked about yesterday, which is Tux. Something that I've been doing with my deck profiles, if they've been a little more casual or fun, because most of the competitive decks you can see on the championship recaps, or some players post regional deck lists, which is always nice for the community. But I did have a poll out on Facebook, and people wanted to see a little more competitive deck profiles. So whenever events come around, I'll try and get those top 8 deck lists the best I can. But in the meantime, I'm going to try and bring my best version of what I would take to a regional or maybe even an Argent Saga championship. With that in mind, please remember that I'm not the greatest deck builder. A lot of things that I present in my initial videos, I end up play testing a lot and then going back and tweaking later. So just take these with a grain of salt. It's kind of something that is the core idea, but some cards may switch in or out. So with that being said, we have Ergon Tux. Now, I think this is a really big competitor in the meta, for sure. I think Liam Tux is going to be a real threat, but I think Ergon Tux is also something that is going to be viable. So with that being said, let's get into the cards, all right? So starting us off with the Dark Monsters, we run 3 Shrieker. So the 3 Shrieker are in here because you still like milling in this deck, and it's also probably your best 1-cost unit for Dark. Being the 1000 power to break towers is very nice. And also, turboing through your deck, we're kind of going back to the set 1 days where you would Ergon to just mill as fast as you can to kind of get Sylphia. Here's the same thing. You kind of want to get to your power cards like Juggernaut or Mei-Yu. And then in that off chance late game, you're milling for the Shade to try and close out games. So we do run the 3 Shrieker for a 1-drop. For our 2-drops for Dark, we run 3 Golem of Devourment. This is a very good chump blocker. Can block up to 3 units, and you can keep looping it with Ergon by putting one of the copies back on top of the deck. So 3 Golem of Devourment help you get to the late game. This Ergon deck is definitely a controlled deck. It is not something like Ergon Corona where you're kind of speeding through your deck. This is a slow grind game, so keep that in mind. Next up, we play 2 Golem of Allurement. We're playing 2 of these because there's a lot of tokens in the meta right now. You have a lot of Repperbloom tokens. Ashborn Conjurer is something that may be coming up now that it's released to create those fire tokens, so another token generator. Hoenna also gets a little bit of playability. So these are all things that generate tokens, and Golem of Allurement just gets that much better whenever tokens are kind of a key focus in the game. So we are playing these. It's also a Yami target, so you can activate it in response to something generated in tokens to kind of chump block and attack on your opponent's turn. So that's why we run the 2 Allurement. Next, we run 2 Hellish Guardhound. This is a really good Guardian unit for a 3-cost. It pretty much stops an opponent from attacking the very next turn, and it's a 2000 body Guardian. So very nice utility unit. We also run Rudy in here. So with Rudy on the field, you can target 2 units to not attack that turn. So another card that helps us get to the late game. We are running 2 Hoenna, Conjurer Supreme. This card is still very good, obviously. It's not as powerful as it would be in an Ergon Corona deck because you're not getting additional benefits from offering. But still, being able to cast any of your low-cost units like the Hellish Guardhound or Golem of Allurement or Rudy or Eccentric Visitor to bring your Tux back online to stun on your opponent's turn is something that can't go to waste. So we do play the 2 Hoenna. We do play 1 Catastrophe Demon. This card is still very strong. Being able to exhaust, have your opponent's stuff come into play exhausted is a big threat for sure. And on top of that, it's got the Destroyer ability. So definitely a lot of value in this 5-cost unit. We don't play more than 1 because we don't run stuff like Gigathin here to run the 5 engine. So we only run the 1. It's still a very nice turn 5 drop. for the Destroyer ability, as well as putting pressure with your opponent's units coming into play tapped. We also play one Demon of the Evil Eye. Like I said earlier, we do play Rudy. You'll see it whenever I talk about the colorless cards. So Rudy in this in tandem is amazing, and within this meta, you're starting to see a little more Jamal Sola to counter the Liam Kite decks. So this is a nice card to have in that matchup. And in tandem with Rudy, this card's nuts. So we are playing the one Demon of the Evil Eye. And then our last dark unit is Shade of the Silver King, obviously. It's still a very strong unit. It's obviously a lot more costly to run in this deck because a lot of the things that you're going to be offering, you don't want to offer them. But a well-timed Shade of the Silver King is something that can't be ignored, and you should not play it just because of the steep cost in offering 7 without your Blazewalker units, which make this card kind of unfair. So moving on to our spells, we do play one Delayed Poison. I do have another one in the side. Delayed Poison is very good due to the fact that it can take out a Great Behemoth for just 1 cost. Obviously, using this on something like a Bone Scavenger is very good. A Yuki, if they drop it after you break a tower. You might be able to destroy a Reprobloom with this. It's probably unlikely. It's also not the best target because you want to clear the Reprobloom and then clear the tokens with something like the Ghostly Demises. But still, being able to take out some real threats for a 1 cost for Delayed Poison is something that warrants at least playing 1 copy in the main. And like I said, I do side an additional copy of this for token decks that run Great Behemoth. We do run the 1 Treat still. Treat is obviously not as powerful in this version because you can't send the Blazewalkers to take advantage of your offering ability. But Treat does pair well with Ergon still, being able to send choice cards to the discard zone to then put them back on top with Ergon's ability. Something like a Juggernaut or a Mei-Yu is still something that can't be ignored. So we do still play the 1 Treat. Moving on, we play the 3 Omega Magic Yami. This card's absolutely insane. It's one of the best spells in the game. It brings back a lot of very good cards in this deck, Eccentric Visitor being one of them, Rudy another, Hoenna. The list goes on and on. So there's no reason not to play this card in any dark deck. Next, we play the 3 Ghostly Demise. This card's fantastic. Like I had mentioned earlier, it's a heavy token format right now. So we definitely want to be running max of our field wipes, Ghostly Demise being one of the better ones in a token format. So yeah, and I just want to say thank you to Lee Pouchard from Tavern Brawlers. Thank you very much for getting these to me. They're absolutely beautiful, and it helped me showcase this deck today. So props to him. And our last dark card is Debilitating Miasma. This one's kind of hard to see because it's wave 1. It says up to 2 targets get minus 2,000 this turn. So 4 costs, so it's a little steep, but you can take out multiple tokens with it. Also, it's one of your main targets for Mei-Yu. You don't have a whole lot of extremely powerful spells to bring back with Mei-Yu in here. This is a good one, and also Ghostly Demise, things like that. But this is going to be one of your main targets for sure to really gain back tempo once you drop the Mei-Yu with a full board that your opponent might have. So since we're running Tux, you can run 0 blue, or you can run 10 blue. I decided to run the 10 because I think blue has a lot of very strong, powerful cards. So I decided to run 10. The first ones we're running are the Phantasmal Storms, just a great 2-cost spell, being able to deal 2,000 to a target with instacast, and then also being able to Shard Drain 1 to add an additional one from your deck to your hand is very nice. 1, because you can get it on command, and 2, the Shard Drain ability pairs nicely with Mei-Yu. So that's why we run the 3 Phantasmal Storms. It's also not a bad card to mill if you accidentally hit a spell with Ergon's milling ability. So we do run the 3 Phantasmal Storms. We also run 2 Shards of Winter, also just a very good card right now. You're going to run into a lot of full boards. If you can Shards of Winter, a board full of Repro and tokens, and then being able on your next turn after they're all tapped, take out the Repro and then Ghostly Demise, wipe out the field, it just feels really good. It swings the game definitely back in your favor. So we do run the 2 Shards of Winter for that reason. Next, we run the 3 Juggernaut. This is another hard one to see because of the Wave 1 printing, but that's a good way to see it. Best Guardian in the game. This does lose a little power because of Tux now being in the meta, being able to shut this down for a turn. But still, it's still a real threat on board, especially if your opponent had to use the Tux early. Nothing more to say about this other than it's still extremely great. It was great as soon as it came out, and it's still there. Shard Drain ability also plays into Mei-Yu, so no reason not to run 3 in my opinion. Now for our bombs, we do run the 1 Stormcaster of the Azure Tower. It's a threatening destroyer, and also it helps you clear out some real problem threats. Putting back like a Shade or a Great Behemoth on the bottom of the deck is something that can't be overlooked, as well as maybe an Iskandar late game. That's also a real nice reason to run Stormcaster. And the arrivability will trigger twice if Rudy's on the field. So we have plenty of arrivabilities in this deck to warrant Rudy, and Stormcaster kind of contributes to that. And our last blue card is, of course, Mei-Yu. This is probably one of the best cards in the game, if not the best. I'm sure you could have a spirited debate with certain people, and they tell you that this is the best one in the game. Being able to bring back a spell for free from your discard zone, and then the next card you play is free, is just, it can change games. And then on top of that, you have plenty of Shard Drain cards in your deck that you can also put cards on your opponent's field back on the top of the deck and put them behind. If they don't have an answer to Mei-Yu, they're going to have a real problem. Last up, we've got our Argent card. So I play the 3 Argent Egg. This is just a really nice 1-drop Guardian that produces a token that allows you to scout. You really want to get to the late game in this deck, and Liam decks can really put pressure on you early, so you need a low-cost Guardian unit to just chump block. So we do run the Argent Eggs along with those Golem of Devourments to get us to the late game. We do run the 1 Eccentric Visitor. I side the second one, just in case you come across decks that are playing the Bone Scavenger. Bone Scavenger's kind of gone down a little bit in value because Tux is in the meta, and I think some people are switching more back to control variants instead of something like Ergon Corona, but we'll see. Right now, I am playing the 1 Eccentric Visitor. It will suck if it gets banished, but being able to loop it with Ergon, bring it back with the Yami, and then abuse your Tux Soul Burst is one of the main reasons why we play this. I think anyone's going to play Eccentric Visitor, but there is a possibility that I bump this up to 2 just because I may want to see more and more of it. We also run Rudy. I'm actually really happy that I get to play this card again because it's so good, but for a long time, there weren't enough Arrive triggers in the meta to really warrant it because it had a real strong performance with Hoenna because you had a lot of discard abilities in Hoenna, and being able to discard multiple targets was really nice with Rudy, but that kind of went by the wayside whenever Hoenna, fell out of the meta. But I think Rudy warrants a spot in this deck because of all of the Arrive abilities that we do play. So yeah, I'm glad to be playing Old Man Rudy again. And then our last Argent card is Silver Watchwoman. I always like to have something that has quickness, just to put threats on the board. Anytime I have a deck that doesn't have quickness, I feel like all of my plays are easy to kind of play around. You just have to deal with the monsters on board, and you don't have any threat of quickness. But that's why I'm playing the 1 Silver Watchwoman. Still a very good card. And you're able to loop it with Ergon. So I only need one unit with quickness, and also the Arrive ability to get multiple tokens. So Rudy comes into play there too. And last but not least, we need to go over the shards and the towers. So we're just playing the 6 standard shards. We're playing the 3 cryptic crystal because we're running Tux, so this helps us kind of manipulate the top of our deck, see if we want to mill the next 2 cards with Ergon. That's always nice. And then the 1 Corona shard. So those are the shards, and the towers, as always, are just the 5 standard towers. Nothing to really talk about here. But yeah, this is my competitive version of Ergon Tux, guys. This is what I would run if I were to run this at a regional event. Like I said, 1 or 2 cards may change after some more playtesting, but let me know what you think. Is this something that you guys are coming across? If you're playing Ergon Tux, is your build similar to mine? You know, is there any cool techs that you know of that I'm not aware of? I'd love to know. So comment in the section below. You know, let me bounce some ideas off you. That's always fun for me. If not, just like the video if you enjoyed this content. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, guys, Zeppelin out.